So now we're going to teach luring, and luring is getting the dog to follow food, and we use luring to create obedience behaviors down the line. Like with anything else that I like to teach, I always want to focus on the skill in and of itself before I go to use it for something first, right? So like kind of going back to the basketball analogy, you should probably know how to shoot pretty good before you go and play a game, right? Mm-hmm. So with luring, our goal is to get their noses stuck to our food like a magnet, right? So this is where holding it like this is really going to come into play. So we want to hold it in between our middle finger and our pointer, make your hand like a cup and cover it with your thumb. And I'm going to focus first on straight lines. Now, I kind of, give away the Miyagi secrets here, right? So how I teach luring is actually going to go into how we play. And so I'm not only going to use these same mechanics for food chasing games, but we're going to use these same mechanics for tug of war later on too. So how we actually move our bodies is going to matter quite a bit here. So when I first start this out, I want to go treat to nose like a magnet. And that's actually what I'm marking, is that their nose stays stuck to my hand. As I start moving in a straight line, we want to arch down a little bit so we're at their head level, never up high doing this. So we're going to get to their head level, and I always want to say the rewarded release on my non-dominant leg. Right, it's going to be the opposite of where I'm holding the food. So if I mark here, so let's say I say yes, then I can do one more step and end in a lunge. Now, this part matters a lot here, so that eventually, when I'm doing food chasing games or tug, I wind up totally square and balanced. So if you just kind of look at it like this, I'm going to straight shot. So see how balanced my body is here? Right, like I'm not going to get knocked over. If I'm playing tug with the dog, like I'm not going anywhere, I'm stable. But if I'm moving pretty quick, and then I end up like that, not so square. I can actually immediately feel that in my lower back, hips, and a little bit in the knee, like it just kind of wants to point over this way. So if you think about it like this, not only is it just odd, but if a dog hit a tug like this, and they hit it pretty hard, or you're moving pretty quickly, it's an odd way to land, and then they could also potentially knock you over if they really grab that tug and go like that. When I go backwards, so same principles here, I want to get their nose stuck to my hand like a magnet. And so the only movements I'm going to do is forward and backwards for this. So nose stuck to my hand like a magnet. And as I start moving backwards, I'm going to yes, again, non-dominant leg. And then I'm going to do this like a hinge. So when I say yes off that, we're going to pivot. So that comes back into play. And we're going to leave space for the dog to access the food. Yes. So going backwards, you don't want to get stuck like this, odd, right? Or like that, and it doesn't leave space for the dog. So as they come through to take it, we're going to remove our leg, get it out of the way, sort of pivot, and we want to leave this space for the dog. So it's a 90-degree turn with your leg. Let me start doing this with Cooper here. You got one on the floor first? Will do. Okay, and he's probably gonna be like, this is super odd, no one's done this before. Yes. Or is he okay? Is he yes or okay?
He's
okay.
Okay, yeah.
So we're gonna go supply hand here, right? So we want that hand up high so we can get this quickly. Treat to nose. First thing we're doing, stepping backwards. Okay. Hinge, grab food, treat to nose. That's that speed. Okay. Treat to nose. Okay. Okay. Alright, he's a pro. Okay. That makes sense what I'm doing there. So it's kind of like learning dance moves, right? But once you get it down, it's...
When are you releasing again? When you go forward again, when are you releasing the treat?
So it's going to be when I'm on my dominant foot. So it's going to be that step that I actually feed him. And when I feed him, I just kind of let it go. I flick my hand away, and I go right back to my supply. It's like immediately back to the supply. So let's watch that again here. Do you have a better angle if I move this way or this way?
Whichever.
Just do it this way too. We get both angles that way.
So if he's starting out in front of me, you go treat to nose, first thing. You want to do head level. Start moving backwards. Okay. So I flick my hand away. drop them on your dog's face. Immediately grab more food. Treats and nose. Okay. 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 He thought he took that one. Okay. Okay. Just like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you kind of say, okay, on the non-dominant foot, and then
Yeah.
when the next step, you can kind of release
Yeah, and
it.
that's when I feed him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna mark when he's on my non-dominant foot while he's stuck to my hand. So that's the behavior I want from him. Like I want him glued to my hand for that.
Yes.
So I'm gonna mark there, and then I take that extra step to make sure my body's square for delivery.
Got it.
Cool thing here too. So again, this is kind of teaching you that muscle memory. But later on, so does he know like sit on command like that?
Yeah.
So I can use it as a reward. Cooper, sit. Any day. Okay. And you can chase me around with food. I can even have him miss. We do a food chasing game, and we play with that so I get more pep out of him and make him want to do this more.
Yeah.
So, and there's certain behaviors you want that more than others, like sits and downs. I never mind doing that too. I will rarely do that with like a place command. I'll definitely do it with a recall. I don't do it so much with my walking either. I kind of want that more low key. If you do it periodically, not a big deal. But there's certain things that I want a bit more pep for. Certain things I don't. I'll often add pep if I'm losing their focus on training in general. So, I always tell people, training is kind of a blend of performance, emotional state, and motivation. So if they're like emotional state, like say they're nervous or fearful about something, right, that's gonna affect their performance ultimately, but it's really gonna affect their motivation a lot. Like they're not gonna be able to get there. If their motivation is low, so let's say they feel fine, but they're not really into what you're doing, that's gonna affect performance. So oftentimes, the problem with a lot of trainers and the way that a lot of owners see things is they're just looking at performance, right? This is one way to look at it. So if I'm noticing like they're kind of flat, then I'm like, cool, chase me around a little bit, let's pep you up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I use it like that. Any questions on this?
No?
So let's go.